welcome to the Veterinary Financial Podcast, where we discuss financial freedom and whole life success. I'm Meredith Jones, a veterinarian and financial planner.
And I'm Willie Bidot, a lab animal specialist and a money nerd.
So today we are talking all about the Virtual Vet Financial Summit that we have coming up on September 30th and October 1st. So this is the 4th annual summit. It's a 2-day online event that is over a weekend. So Willie, can you talk about some of the unique features of the summit?
Well, in my experience attending and being a host of the summit, I've really enjoyed that it's a summit for everybody in the vet profession. So not only veterinarians, but vet techs and definitely vet students can definitely learn a lot in this summit. The other thing is it's mostly about finances, which is a topic of interest to me. And that is something that is fairly unique to this summit.
Yeah, and practice managers are welcome to attend also. We do have a few who have signed up already and love to see that. So we talk all about both personal finance and also practice finance, practice management. So with personal finance, anything from investing to student debt, entrepreneurship topics, talking about compensation, negotiation, things like that. It's 100% live, so we don't have any pre-recorded sessions because we want it to be really interactive and very engaging. And that's a lot of the feedback that we have gotten from previous attendees is that they really enjoy all of the Q&As and all of the engagement between the attendees and also with the speakers as well.
So you mentioned it's interactive and there's a few play and win sessions, and then there's a movie night. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we like to have fun at the summit. And so we have some quiz games that we do in the middle of the day on both Saturday and Sunday. So both that September 30th and October 1st, where we ask some questions and we tally points and give away prizes. And it's really, really fun. And then we always have a movie night as well. And so we're planning on hosting that again this year on Saturday night. So we'll just kind of kick back with some popcorn. Or what was your favorite snack that you shared last year, Willie?
Popcorn and M&Ms.
There we go. Popcorn and M&Ms. So whatever is your favorite snack, you can sit back with that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about the keynote speaker, Dave Nichol. Especially the title. I read this phrase in a book and it caught up on me, and his title is, "If it's not a heck yes, then it's a no." Again, I'm not sure what he's talking about, but sounds like boundaries, and that is a hot topic in vet med.
Yeah, we all have a lot of choices to make, in our careers and then just day to day. And so really Dave is going to be talking about a lot of people who are kind of unhappy where they are in veterinary medicine. A lot of it is due to choices that we have made that are just kind of either passively in our practices or poorly thought through. And so he's going to be talking about that. He's going to be talking about some really powerful frameworks related to human happiness. And of course, Dave Nichol's got a really engaging style, and we always love having him back at the summit.
Yeah, he's awesome. So it's a Saturday and Sunday, and looking here at the agenda for Saturday, a few topics that I'm getting excited on is building your negotiation toolkit. There's a lot of movement in vet med right now, so certainly a lot of people moving jobs, learning a little bit of negotiation techniques will be awesome.
Yeah, Melanie Barham is going to be hosting that talk, and we're really excited to have her. She is the CEO of Vet Stay Go Diversify. And she has done a lot of work in the vet space as far as negotiation goes, and actually has a course on negotiation. And she also has done a lot of work in promoting different types of careers in veterinary medicine and alternative careers, and really looking at different ways to pivot your career. So we're really excited to have her this year.
And there's investing for the future. For the past 3 years, the summit has had an investing kind of lecture, and that is great, and sometimes it's from the beginning and sometimes in their midlife and even at the end whenever they're planning on retiring. I feel like even a beginner's course for everybody is really helpful.
Yeah, we've got a panel called Investing for the Future this year, and so we'll definitely be talking about that, as well as a panel on real estate. We've got a lot of really interesting panelists who are going to be talking about real estate, and Dr. Mike Bugg is going to be running that panel discussion. And he's a veterinarian and he does real estate full time now. So he's going to be talking about that along with other folks in vet med who are very into real estate, and they're going to talk about how they got started, and they're going to talk about lots of different ways that you can invest in real estate, whether that is funds, whether that's apartment buildings, whether that is short-term rentals. So we're going to hear from a bunch of different perspectives on that subject.
Yeah, Mike is awesome. Last time we interviewed him, he was buying an apartment complex. That's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's got a few.
Awesome. And then again, looking at the agenda, one thing that pops out, I don't think I ever seen a lecture on how to attract talent using social media by Caitlin DeWild.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, because I asked Caitlin, hey, have you ever done a talk on this subject? And she said, well, in some ways I have. I'm going to pull in some things from different talks that I've done where I've touched on that. And I know she did a talk pretty recently for Relief Rover where she was talking about relief vets and having them market themselves in various ways. So I'm really excited to hear what she has to say about attracting talent, because that's really one of the biggest obstacles today for practice owners is how do I get more doctors in the door, and how do I get more staff that really resonates with my practice, and really kind of harnessing the power of social media to create this unique brand voice for yourselves as a practice so that you can stand out to the ideal candidates.
And there's a few hot topics. What are those?
Yeah, so I'm excited about our hot topics. So we have Isaiah Douglas, who's a certified financial planner, and he was previously on the podcast as well earlier this year. He's going to be talking all about Bitcoin. He's going to talk about some of the fundamentals. We do also have a VIP ticket this year in addition to the summit itself, where we're hosting a workshop. So that's going to be actually after the main summit in November. And we're having Isaiah participate in that as well. And he's going to be diving into a little bit more detail on alternative investments. Through that workshop, we're going to be talking about other investing topics and just really taking a deep dive into investing in general. But I do want to get back to talking about the rest of our hot topics. So the next hot topic that we are also going to talk about at the summit is actually one of Willie's favorite topics, which is compensation. And so talking about, should compensation be production-based or should it be merit-based? So having a little back and forth discussion on that, because I think it's come up in veterinary medicine, but I'd like to go into some more detail and have a little bit more discussion on that. I think there are definitely, I'm going to use the word again, merits. I think there are merits to both types of compensation, both on the production side and on the kind of merit-based side where you say, okay, well, if I'm offering more mentoring or I'm doing more management stuff, I want to make sure that I'm being compensated for that and that it's not being overlooked if it's not a directly production producing type of role. I think that's a discussion that's really important. The other hot topic that is also one of Willie's favorite subjects is associate traps. So, Willie, I'm going to let you chat on that a little bit.
Well, the biggest one that we used to see was non-competes. That used to be the biggest associate trap. Have a bunch of friends that quit their job and, they had this non-compete that was X miles, X years. But now we're seeing some companies getting rid of non-competes. Some states, the non-competes are non-binding. But now we're seeing big signing bonuses with a period that you have to stay with the company. So now they're kind of pushing that non-compete somewhere else where they're like, hey, I gave you $100,000 at the beginning of the year. If you leave us, you have to pay it back. And most people can't leave their jobs because they can't pay that back. And Meredith, you're doing a little bit of speaking during the summit as well. You have a presentation and a workshop. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm doing a couple of different things at the summit. So at the beginning of the summit, so after Dave Nickel does his keynote, I am doing a presentation called Know Your Money Scripts. A lot of us, we have these money scripts that we were kind of taught when we were younger. And so you either get ideas about money from your parents or from other people who have influenced you. And we start to build these stories around money for ourselves. So we're actually going to make that interactive too, where you're going to take a quiz. And so either before the summit or during this session at the summit, you're going to take a quiz to find out what your money scripts are. So we're going to talk about those and kind of where they come from and how they can kind of hold you back from reaching your financial goals. So we'll talk about ways to think about that and just be aware of it and perhaps even rewrite some of your money scripts. And we didn't plan it this way, Willie, but it turns out that the summit is on September 30th and October 1st, which is right around when student loan payments restart. And we are hosting another student loan workshop this year. The title of it is really just Student Loan Payments Are Restarting and What You Need to Know. And so we are going to talk about all of the recent announcements and updates. We're going to talk about the SAVE plan, and we're going to talk about the income-driven repayment plans in general and the different things to think about when you're thinking about your repayment strategy. And also think about when would it be more reasonable to pay off the loans versus stay on income-driven repayment. And also talk about what are the opportunities with income-driven repayment and things that you could do with the additional cash flow related to that if you do pursue income-driven repayment. So we're going to talk through all of those things and make sure we're getting your student loan questions answered, because there's a lot of questions about student loans these days, Willie,
Yeah, and that topic got me excited because, like I mentioned earlier, this is for people in many stages in vet med. And clearly with that presentation, I've graduated almost 10 years ago, and I need to hear these updates on student loans because I just don't understand what the government is doing right now. So, and for those of you graduating now, of course, you need to hear this because you're going to have to start paying them soon. And there's been quite a few people for the past 3 years that have not made any payments. So those recent grads, another great lecture for you guys. Well, a workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have some workshops and presentations that are targeted to both current practice owners and also future practice owners. And so Denise Tumblin is doing kind of a longer workshop where she's going to be talking about navigating vet to vet transitions. So she's going to talk about, rather than selling your practice to a corporation, what are the other options out there, and talk about what it would look like and kind of different structures for vets who are either interested in selling a practice or vets who are interested in buying a practice from another vet. So she's going to talk about it from both of those perspectives, and also talk about some really important benchmarks to keep in mind as practice owners, whether you're looking at owning a practice in the future or whether you already own one, and really identifying opportunities to maximize that investment. And then we are welcoming Bash Hallow again to the summit this year. And so he's going to be talking about managing a practice during economic downturns. Really, I think even though it says managing a practice, it's really going to be relevant to everybody, even if they are an associate, because really, even as associates, we're doing some degree of managing the practice, and it's still something that is important to touch on and be knowledgeable about. And so he's going to be talking about how to make your practice lean and mean, regardless of what the economy looks like.
Yeah, and Bash is a personality, so that is one that you don't want to miss.
Yeah, for sure. And we are excited to also have Michael Hargrove speaking at the summit for the first time. Michael is a DVM. He has an MBA, and he's also a certified valuation analyst. So he's got a lot of experience with veterinary practice management and practice consulting and valuation. So he's going to be talking about veterinary management benchmarks, and the title is Guidelines, Goals, or Garbage. And so he's going to be talking about, okay, yeah, there's all these benchmarks out there, but what's really relevant in your practice and what do you really need to focus on? And I think it'll be really cool to have that from a veterinarian's perspective.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. And practice valuation, And he's a DVM. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a great speaker.
I'm excited to be running a panel called the gig economy in vet med, because certainly during the pandemic, I've seen some interesting jobs or gigs that people are coming up with. So I'm excited to hear what our panelists have to say.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what they have to say. And there are lots of cool gigs out there, and if you think about it, okay, they talk about the gig economy in the American economy in general, as far as like Uber drivers and DoorDash and things like that. But if you think about it, really in vet med, there are those sort of gigs as well. Like you've got vaccine clinics, you've got people who are just picking up some sort of side hustle out there. And what else, Billy? You've done so many different kinds of gigs.
I guess a new one for me is in Puerto Rico, we've been helping shelters. So just even evaluating SOPs. So nothing really clinically related, just their practices and whatnot. And I'm always looking for things to do at home. So yeah, I'm hoping to hear a few of those.
Yeah, so we're excited to have a few vets who have done different types of gigs out there and really hear from their experiences and learn from them. So there's a lot of cool sessions coming up. I'm really excited. On day 2, I'm going to be talking about how to triage your personal finances because we're all really busy, right? And so whatever you can do to automate your finances and make everything just go more smoothly, it's going to be really beneficial for you. And then I'm also just going to be talking about prioritizing different financial goals because you can laser focus on one goal, but most of us are really looking at about 3 or 4 different financial goals at one time. So figuring out, okay, well, how do you prioritize what's really most important to you in life? Then also make sure that you're hitting those longer term goals as well.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to that final session where you're going to discuss on design your financial plan. I really enjoy that part because in not many conferences or summits expect you to have a plan afterwards. And this one does. So tell us what designing your financial plan means.
Yeah, and so the idea with that session, and we always have it as the last session of the summit, is we want to make sure that you are leaving the summit with a plan. And so one of the cool things about the summit as well is you've got the Vet Financial Summit community, which is our small Facebook group that is exclusive just for summit attendees. And so you can go in there and interact throughout the year and ask questions. But we always want to close the summit with a brainstorming and goal setting session so that you can take the things that you've learned over the weekend and actually write down, okay, what are my next steps? What are my financial goals? What are the very next steps going to be? Because when you take your goals and you break them down into smaller steps, for example, it's not just something like, oh, I'm going to save a 6-month emergency fund. We need to break that down, right? We need to break it down into smaller steps of, okay, how much are you going to save per month in order to get there? What are the other things, like do you have any credit card debt or something else that you need to make sure that you're taking care of as you're building that emergency fund? And I used a very basic goal. It could be much more complicated. It could be something like, hey, I'm going to go start my 3rd practice. But of course, there are a lot of steps that you need to take to get there. So kind of breaking it down so that it's something that is manageable for you and it's something where you're going to be more likely to take what you learned at the summit and act on it.
That's great. You're a financial planner now, so I imagine it's pretty much like being with a client in the room and explaining, what are the expectations and how we're going to get there.
Yeah, we do a lot of breaking down bigger goals into smaller steps so that clients can make progress that way.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we will leave links in the show notes. And so the simplest way to get to the page for the summit is to go to vetfinancialsummit.com/summit. And we've got the whole agenda for the weekend there. It'll show our 2 tracks on personal finance and practice finance. And like Willie said, there's definitely something for everyone, whether you're an associate, whether you're a practice owner, a future practice owner, vet student, manager. So lots of topics that are very relevant to all. And we are looking forward to having you join us there on September 30th and October 1st. And we are really excited to host another online event.
Looking forward to it.
If you liked this episode, click the follow or subscribe button. Until next time, take care and continue your path to financial success.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be considered legal or financial advice. Consult with a legal or financial professional before making any investment decisions.